Listen, there comes a point in your life when you start realizing that everything you've been surviving wasn't random. The pain wasn't pointless. The battles weren't accidental. The setbacks weren't failures. They were confirmations. Proof that you're chosen for something bigger. Some people are anointed in a quiet, gentle way, but some of us, we get marked through fire. We get shaped through storms. And if you're seeing these signs, it means God didn't just select you, he set you apart. That's what makes you dangerous. Not dangerous to people, but dangerous to darkness, dangerous to doubt, dangerous to anything that was designed to break you. Today, I want to share 5 signs that you are dangerously anointed, not in theory, but based on real life, real struggle, real purpose. If any of these speak to your spirit, it's because you're not becoming chosen, you already are. Some people move through life like the world is made of soft edges. Everything comes easy, everything falls into place, and they never really feel the weight of anything heavy. But your story never sounded like that. You've been in the ring long before you even knew you were fighting. You faced storms without shelter, responsibilities without preparation, choices without guidance. The moment something good finally starts to bloom, it's like 3 different problems pop up just to test how bad you want it. And you've probably asked yourself more than once, why me? Why does it always feel like I'm pushing uphill? It's not bad luck. It's the pressure that comes with purpose. When there's something powerful in you, life won't just let you walk through untouched. You carry a calling that creates friction. Resistance shows up because your growth threatens everything that was meant to limit you. You attract challenges because your spirit is built to overcome them. That's why your battles feel bigger than your age, your environment, or your resources. That's why your story reads heavier than the people around you. You weren't built for easy. You were built for impact. When you look back, you'll notice something. Every meaningful person you've ever admired, every leader, every game changer, every innovator, none of them rose without a fight that looked unfair on paper. Some grew up surrounded by chaos, yet developed a rare sense of clarity. Others were raised in instability, but somehow learned discipline. Some lost loved ones early and had to grow up faster than they were ready to. Some fought poverty, violence, heartbreak, or abandonment long before they even had the words to describe what they were surviving. That kind of pain doesn't happen by accident. That kind of pressure creates a foundation. You don't get that level of resilience from comfort. Maybe you were the kid who had to solve grown people problems before you even learned how to be a kid. Maybe you were the quiet one who learned to observe before you spoke. Maybe you were the one carrying emotional weight for your whole family. Maybe you were the friend everybody came to for help, even when you needed help yourself. Or maybe you learned early that nobody was coming to save you, so you taught yourself how to. These things don't just happen, they shape you for something bigger than your surroundings. Opposition is never random, it's targeted, it's strategic, it's designed to frustrate you into giving up on what you were meant to build. And every time you got hit, every time something went wrong, every time life blindsided you, that was the enemy acknowledging your potential before you even knew you had any. If there wasn't something powerful inside you, life wouldn't waste so much energy trying to break you. But the fact that you're still standing says more than any compliment anyone could ever give you. It means you have a kind of strength that was forged, not given. Think about the seasons when you should have folded. The times when you were emotionally drained, physically exhausted, spiritually confused, but you still got up the next day. Think about the moments when everything was falling apart and you still found a way to move, to show up, to keep going. That's not normal. That's not common. That's not something everybody has. That's a sign that you've been equipped with something beyond human understanding. There are people who crumble under pressure much lighter than what you've been carrying. And that doesn't make them weak. It just shows that your capacity was expanded by your calling. You learned how to endure what others never had to face. You learned how to read people, how to read energy, how to protect your peace, how to adapt, how to rebuild, how to let go of what wasn't good for you, even when it hurt. Your resilience didn't come from textbooks. It came from survival. Your instincts didn't come from comfort. They came from being forced to stay alert. Your wisdom didn't come from lectures. It came from scars. You've been anointed in silence, no ceremony, no announcement, no spotlight, just battle after battle shaping you into someone stronger than your circumstances. And even though it felt unfair, even though it felt heavy, even though it felt lonely, it was all preparation. That's why you don't react like other people. That's why you don't break easily. That's why you see life differently. You were trained by adversity to carry a purpose that can transform every space you walk into. And here's something most people never realize. being chosen doesn't always feel like being chosen. Most of the time, it feels like being challenged. It feels like being stretched. It feels like being isolated. It feels like losing more than you win. But chosen ones don't shine early, they endure early. The shine comes later, the understanding comes later, the reward comes later, but the preparation, that starts in the trenches. Your life has been full of signs that you carry something rare. Even when you were younger, you knew deep down that you weren't built like everybody else. You saw things other people ignored. You felt things other people brushed off. You questioned things most people accepted. That's what made you different. That's why you never fit into places that lacked purpose. People didn't always understand you, and sometimes you didn't understand yourself. But now, the pieces are starting to connect. You faced heavier opposition because you were meant to carry heavier responsibility. You met tougher enemies because you were meant to fight bigger battles. You survived what others couldn't because you were meant to lead where others can't. Your story isn't a mistake. Your struggle isn't a curse. Your pain isn't punishment. It's evidence that you are being prepared for something significant. So the next time life pushes against you, remember this. Pressure only shows up when there's something worth protecting inside you. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being tested because you're powerful. And whether you realize it yet or not, that pressure is the greatest proof that you are dangerously anointed, chosen, and equipped for a purpose that's bigger than anything that has ever tried to stop you. There's a certain kind of person who can stand in a room full of noise, surrounded by faces, wrapped in energy, and still feel like they're walking alone. Not because they don't love people, not because they're antisocial, and not because they think they're above anyone, but because their spirit is wired differently. When you're chosen for something greater, isolation doesn't just happen to you. It follows you. It becomes the quiet shadow that stays close, even in moments when everything around you seems loud. You start noticing early on that you don't quite fit the way others do. You move with intention while others move with impulse. You think long term while others chase distractions. You feel things deeply, see things clearly, and dream in ways that make people tilt their heads like they can't quite see the picture you're painting. It's not that your dreams are unrealistic. They're just too big for small minds. Too heavy for people who've never carried anything bigger than their own comfort. Too layered for anyone who's never looked past the surface. And because of that, you find yourself drifting away from people you once held close. Not in anger, not in conflict, just naturally. The same way seasons change without announcing themselves, you quietly shift. You start craving conversations with substance, connections with meaning, relationships that push you forward instead of pulling you back. And when you can't find that around you, you start walking alone. Not because you choose to, but because growth chooses you. There are moments when that isolation feels like a punishment. You watch groups laugh together while you sit in your thoughts. You watch old friendships fade without a real reason. You watch people misunderstand your intentions, misread your silence, or assume you're distant when you're really just evolving. And sometimes it hurts because your heart still remembers the people you wanted to take with you, the ones you prayed would grow with you, the ones you hoped would understand you. But not everyone can meet you at the level your purpose is calling you to. People rarely talk about the guilt that comes with elevation, the guilt of wanting more peace when others are satisfied with chaos, the guilt of outgrowing conversations that once entertained you, the guilt of distancing yourself from environments you prayed to enter. You start feeling selfish for protecting your energy. You start questioning if you're doing the right thing because the path you're walking doesn't look like anybody else's. But that's the point. You weren't designed to blend in. You were designed to break cycles. And the thing about being marked for something greater is this: isolation is part of the training. When you set apart, it's never an accident, it's preparation. Isolation is where you learn who you are when no one's watching. It's where you develop discipline without applause. It's where you train your spirit to stand on its own. It's where you grow roots that don't shake when life gets loud. The world might see your strength later, but the foundation was built in the shadows. There's a reason diamonds form deep underground, under pressure, far away from attention. There's a reason oil is extracted from places people don't see. There's a reason seeds grow in darkness before they ever touch sunlight. Growth that lasts never starts in crowds. It starts in isolation. That's why you were pulled away from certain people. That's why you were placed in quiet seasons when you prayed for movement. That's why you were separated from familiar places, habits, and circles. Because the version of you that's coming requires a level of focus that noise can't compete with. You're not lonely. You're being developed. You're not forgotten. You're being refined. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're in a season where God is stripping away anything that would interfere with who you're becoming. And it feels uncomfortable because you're shedding layers you've worn your whole life. Layers of approval seeking, layers of fear, layers of dependency on people who were never meant to go the distance with you. If you really think about it, every major shift in your life happened after a season of isolation. Every breakthrough came after a moment where you stepped back and listened to your own soul. Every transformation started when you unplugged from the noise and tuned into your purpose. That's not coincidence. It's pattern. And if you're experiencing it again, it means another elevation is coming. People don't always understand the value of someone who walks alone. They assume you're cold, distant, uninterested. But what they don't realize is that walking alone has taught you things you could never learn in a crowd. It taught you independence. It taught you to trust your intuition. It taught you to value peace over popularity. It taught you to build without applause. It taught you to hear God's voice more clearly than people's opinion. It taught you that solitude isn't empty, it's sacred. And what's wild is this. Even when you're alone, you're becoming stronger. Even when you feel isolated, you're growing in ways that will confuse the same people who overlooked you. You're building a foundation that most people never take the time to create. You're learning how to carry yourself in rooms that you once didn't believe you could enter. You're developing a discipline that doesn't rely on motivation. You're shaping a mindset that will carry you through storms other people would drown in. One day, everything that felt like loss will feel like alignment. The friendships that faded will make sense. The circles you outgrew will look too small. The silence you were forced into will sound like clarity. The loneliness you struggled with will feel like protection. Every moment that made you question yourself will be the exact reason you trust yourself later. You walk alone because you're being called higher. You walk alone because you hear things others ignore. You walk alone because your purpose is louder than your comfort. You walk alone because you're being prepared to lead, to inspire, to break generational patterns, to do what the average person isn't willing to do. And when you finally step into the life that was designed for you, you'll realize that the isolation wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of your becoming. So if you've been walking alone, don't see it as a void. See it as divine positioning. You're not on the outside, you're ahead. You're not abandoned, you're chosen. And everything that feels empty right now is making room for everything you're about to walk into. It's a certain kind of person who walks through this world with a heart that feels heavier than their body. Not because they're weak, not because they're overly emotional, but because their spirit is wired like an antenna, picking up signals other people never notice. You see things that go unseen. You feel what others avoid. You sense the weight in someone's voice even when they're smiling. And sometimes you wonder if something's wrong with you. You wonder why certain moments hit you harder than they hit anyone else. You wonder why you can't just be numb and disconnected like so many people seem to be. But nothing's wrong with you. You're built different. Your heart is tuned to a higher frequency. And even if you tried to ignore it, your spirit wouldn't let you. Most people move through life guarding themselves from feeling too much. They treat pain like it's contagious, like if they get close enough to someone else's struggle, they'll drown in it. But you step toward the things others step away from. You pull people aside when you feel their energy shift. You check on the ones who never ask for help because you can see the truth they hide. You pray for people who don't even know you do. You forgive when you're still hurting. You lift others even when you're carrying your own weight. Your compassion isn't performative, it's instinctual. It comes from a place deep inside you that refuses to harden, no matter what life has done to you. And that alone is powerful, because most people who've been through what you've survived would have shut down by now. They would have built walls, not opened doors. They would have closed their hearts, not expanded them. But instead of bitterness, you gained understanding. Instead of resentment, you gained perspective. Instead of cruelty, you gained patience. It's like every wound you endured unlocked another layer of empathy, another level of awareness, another piece of your assignment. You carry compassion like other people carry armor. It's not weakness, it's strength disguised as softness. It's the ability to see humanity in people even when they can't see it in themselves. It's the ability to feel someone's struggle and respond with understanding instead of judgment. It's the ability to sit with someone's pain without needing to fix it, just being present in a way that makes them feel less alone. That's real power, the kind of power that doesn't shout or demand attention, the kind that heals without announcing itself. Sometimes you ask yourself why you care so much. Why someone else's tears feel like they're falling from your own eyes. Why someone's heartbreak sits in your chest like it's yours. Why injustice boils your blood even when it doesn't affect you directly. It's because your heart wasn't built for indifference. It wasn't built for apathy or numbness. Your heart was built to sense what's wrong and move toward making it right. Even if it's small, even if it's quiet, even if it's unnoticed, your spirit recognizes pain, because part of your purpose is to transform it. Think back to the moments when you felt the most broken, the losses, the disappointments, the betrayals, the nights where you stared at the ceiling trying to make sense of everything that fell apart. Those weren't coincidences. They carved something into you: discernment, sensitivity, wisdom. Pain didn't make you weaker, it grounded you, it rooted you. It taught you how to feel without drowning, how to care without losing yourself, how to show up even when you're scared or tired. That's why you're able to understand people so deeply now, because you've lived through things that taught you what hurting feels like. Most people survive tragedy by burying it. You turned yours into a blueprint. You learned how to navigate life with a sense of purpose that comes directly from what you've overcome. You turned your wounds into awareness. You turned your heartbreak into intuition. You turned your trauma into compassion. Only someone with a higher calling can do that. Only someone who's been marked for something greater carries that kind of emotional intelligence. It's like you became the person you once needed, and now the world needs that version of you too. You notice people's habits, people's shifts, people's silence. You can feel when someone's spirit is off, even if their words sound fine. You can sense when someone's about to break, even if they're laughing. It's not paranoia, it's discernment. It's not overthinking, it's spiritual sensitivity. You've been assigned the kind of heart that can read what eyes don't show. And whether you realize it or not, that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because you see truth where others prefer lies. You feel energy where others only see surfaces. You move from intuition, not ego. And in a world full of people who've gone numb, that makes you rare. People like you don't just exist. You're sent. Your empathy is part of your mission. Your compassion is part of your calling. Your sensitivity is part of your strength. And even though it sometimes makes life feel heavier, even though it makes you vulnerable, even though it exposes you to other people's pain, it also equips you to bring healing, connection, and understanding to places where it's been missing. The world tries to convince you that being emotional makes you weak. But look around. The strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who continue to love in a world that taught them every reason not to. Strength isn't the absence of feeling. It's the ability to feel deeply and keep moving anyway. It's the ability to stay soft in a world that rewards hardness. It's knowing that your heart is your compass, not your liability. You've been protected in ways you don't even know. There were moments where life tried to harden you, moments where bitterness tried to take root, moments where your spirit should have closed up like a fist. But something inside you kept choosing softness, kept choosing understanding, kept choosing compassion. That's not accidental, that's divine. Your softness is part of your assignment. It's the weapon you were given to fight the kind of battles that don't show up on the outside. You weren't meant to walk through life numb. You were meant to feel. You were meant to care. You were meant to sense the things most people ignore. And even though it feels heavy sometimes, even though it feels like your heart breaks more often than others, that's exactly what makes you powerful. Your empathy is the proof that you're anointed. It's the evidence that you're aligned with something bigger. So don't ever doubt the weight you carry. Don't ever question why you feel so deeply. Don't ever let anyone convince you that caring is a flaw. Your heart isn't just part of your purpose, it is your purpose. You were built to see what others can't, to feel what others avoid, and to transform the pain of the world into something meaningful. That doesn't make you weak, that makes you chosen, that makes you dangerous, that makes you exactly who you were meant to be. There are certain seasons in life where you look back and wonder how you made it through. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that seeks attention, but in a quiet, honest moment where you realize the weight you carried should have crushed you. There were times when everything around you fell apart so suddenly, so violently, so unexpectedly that you felt like you were standing in the middle of a storm with nothing to hold on to. You didn't have a map, you didn't have instructions, and you didn't have a guarantee that anything would get better. You just had hope beating inside a tired chest, and somehow that was enough. There were nights when you cried yourself to sleep without telling a soul. Days when you wore a brave face but felt like you were running on empty. Moments when people looked at you and saw strength, not realizing you were surviving on fumes. There were seasons where you failed at something you gave everything to, or you lost someone you thought you couldn't live without, or you watched the life you were building crumble like it was made of sand. And in those moments, if someone had told you that you'd bounce back, you wouldn't have believed them. Because emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you were done. At least, That's what it felt like. But you didn't stay down, even when you wanted to, even when quitting seemed easier, even when you were tired of fighting battles you didn't ask for, something inside you, something deeper than your thoughts, deeper than your emotions. Refused to let you stay broken. You got back up. You took steps forward with shaky legs and a fragile heart. And little by little, the strength started to grow again. And that's the part most people never see. They see the comeback, not the crawl. They see the healed version of you.